A press conference by Afghanistan's Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi in New Delhi held yesterday has caused outrage because no female scribe was allowed to attend that event. Following this, Congress has questioned the centre, asking the government to clarify its position on the matter. Congress MP Rahul Gandhi has attacked Prime Minister Narendra Modi, saying that such discrimination only exposes the emptiness of slogans like Nari Shakti. The BJP is now hit back, questioning Congress's selective outrage. Even as the political face-off rages on, the Ministry of External Affairs has issued a clarification on the matter, denying any role in that press conference. The MAA also says that it had no role to play in that interaction that was held by Afghanistan's Foreign Minister. Remember, no female journalists who were allowed in this press conference, the visuals of which we are putting out for our viewers on screen. And in that press conference, particularly and categorically, the female scribes were left and they were not, in fact, invited. And that has caused a huge amount of furor, not just within that one section of the journalist community where they are crying foul. In fact, many male journalists too are talking about how in solidarity they should have also refrained from attending this presser. MEA has in fact officially clarified that they did not have any role to play in this particular press conference, but opposition is up in arms. Opposition is talking about how this is a selective treatment which is come from the Modi government, which talks about Nari Shakti, which talks about Beti Padhao, but in this case the situation was completely different. They did not really contest the non-inclusion of women journalists as far as this press is concerned. Let me take this across to my colleague Pallavi Ghosh, who is now with us on the broadcast. Pallavi, opposition and the fact that they are putting out this charge, a series of tweets also have come out since that press conference really was made official. No female scribes really allowed in that presser in the Afghan embassy, I believe.
I think what we are all reporting upon is the fact that there are specific rules which are in place, and the rules are very simple. Whoever is on that particular territory, in this case, of course, the Afghan embassy, they cannot be prevailed upon to be dictated at how they are to run their affairs. So technically speaking, they are absolutely right from their point of view that they decide who's going to be allowed to come in and not come in. That's one. The ME, of course, has issued a clarification, which Siddhant has also been putting out, that they were completely unaware of this press conference and therefore they have nothing to do about it. But, you know, Griya, the nature of politics is such that there will always be politics, and they are going to seize an opportunity to hit back at the Prime Minister. The cardinal points of this government is women empowerment, Nari Shakti, women entering into those territories and domains where they may not have entered earlier. Now, this is an opportunity which is being used up by, incidentally, most of the women politicians across the board, whether it's Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, whether it is Mahua Moitro, to make the larger point that the Prime Minister has much to answer for, the government has much to answer for. Why is it that such a press conference was allowed in which women journalists were...
Right, some problem with that link with Pallavi Ghosh. We'll try and re-establish that connection. But Pallavi was talking about how there are two sides of this debate. On the one hand, the female scribes are up in arms, talking about that the fact that they have not been included in this press conference. They've also cited many examples coming in from Afghanistan, particularly after the Taliban takeover and forming the government there in the country, on how women not allowed inside jobs or any kind of affairs which are outside the house, not even education. The basic right has been denied to the woman in Afghanistan. How should something which was pretty much on those lines be allowed in a country when their reps have come into India, is the question that many are asking. Also members of the opposition, particularly very, very senior female faces. Pallavi is now back with us on the broadcast. Yes, Pallavi, the point that you were making.
Yes, so as I said, I mean, one of the cardinal principles, Griha, of this entire government has been Nari Shakti, or women empowerment. Women achieving great heights. 33% reservation for women is something which the government has always stressed upon. And, you know, whether it's the Air Force, whether it was Operation Sindoor, in all of them, we have breached the barriers. So, and therefore, this is a point which is now being taken up by the opposition, that the government is not walking the talk. I mean, if it really walked the talk, then how was this press conference even allowed, where women journalists were not allowed to enter the premises of the press conference? You know, the fact that we cannot dictate to any embassy or high commission how they are to run their affairs. They also enjoy diplomatic immunity. That's the point which is lost on the opposition parties. The second fact that the MEA did not organize this press conference is also another point which is lost on the opposition parties. But clearly there is politics which is now happening over here, and they're using this incident to head back at the BJP, the Prime Minister, and of course the union government.
Right, Pallavi, thank you so much for that perspective. Remember, this press conference is garnering a lot of headlines for not what was said in that press conference, but on who was not allowed to cover it, who was not invited. In this case, the female journalist. That community is up in arms, and of course there are many journalists in solidarity talking about the same thing. Opposition has latched on to that very claim. They are talking about how the Modi government, in the name of empowering the women, is only giving a mere lip service. They're not really walking the talk. Silent on discrimination, exposes Prime Minister's Nari Shakti slogan is the version that's coming in from Rahul Gandhi. But the MEA is denying any role. They said they do not have any role to play in this particular press conference that was held. And Muttaqi was addressing that presser. Now, Afghanistan's Foreign Minister Muttaqi's press interaction wasn't a joint event. Diplomatic missions have no restrictions on holding these events, and that's why we also feel that the opposition is only looking at one aspect, and then they are up in arms because of that exclusion of female scribes. In fact, CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra has spoken to Taliban government's spokesperson Suhail Shaheen. Listen into this conversation.
Mr. Shaheen, thank you so much for finding out time to do this interview. Sir, my question is that yesterday there was a press briefing in New Delhi, and Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi did that press conference. But here in India, in fact, the women journalists were not invited. They were not the part of that press conference. How would you like to react to this? Because the women journalists were kept away from the press briefing.
First of all, I would like to make it clear. It is not based on any policy which may be viewed there by some journalists. It is not true. It may be a technical issue, but not a policy.
Okay.
I myself do interviews with female journalists every day, and I have done many interviews during the past, when I say 10 years as a spokesman of political office, and then head of the political office, and now also as ambassador. It is not like that. Of course, in future, if there is any such visits by the Afghan delegation, so it may be arranged between the two media teams of the two countries to take into account also this point, and female journalists be included. But in this case, I think it was a war for a limited journalists. Some even male journalists, they contacted me to help them to get a pass. So there was yes the issue of getting the pass, but it was not that to give it only to male or not to female, which some think that it is not true.
But will you be taking up this issue with your foreign ministry in days to come, that Indian female journalists could not attend the press briefing, and if in future the Afghan government does or plans any engagement in New Delhi, so even the female journalists should also be included in the list?
Yeah, sure. I'm right now in Kabul, and on return of His Excellency Mr. Muttaqi to Kabul, I will have a meeting with him, and sure I will include this point in my agenda of meeting.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Shaheen. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
And let me now bring in Siddhant on the broadcast. Siddhant, you've just spoken to the spokesperson of the Taliban government, Mr. Shaheen. Now, he speaks about some technical issue that had led to not putting out those invites to the female scribes. There's one aspect that one is looking at when it is about building ties with Afghanistan and how crucial this entire relationship between India and Afghanistan also is, looking at it strategically. And there is another thing when we look at this reasoning that's coming in from the Afghani side.
Well, that's right, Greha. In fact, a large number of women journalists here in New Delhi cover foreign beat, strategic matters, and in fact, yesterday they were not invited by the Afghan embassy for the press briefing. In fact, right at the entry of the Afghan embassy, there were arguments between the Afghani officials and women journalists, etc., etc. Now, in fact, but Greha, also important to highlight that they had a list which they prepared. In fact, the male journalists, many of the male journalists covering the beat, covering strategic matters, were also not invited yesterday. So when I asked this question to Mr. Shaheen, he said that in fact many journalists yesterday in New Delhi contacted him and asked him for a pass or for an entry in the press conference, but he couldn't help them because he is out of India. He's not in India. He's not a part of the delegation traveling with the foreign minister. Now, then I asked him that whether this will be repeated in future as well, to which he said that no, it will not be repeated in future. I myself do interviews with the female journalists here in Doha on a daily basis. And in fact, he also said that I'm in Kabul, and once the foreign minister Muttaqi will return to Kabul, I have a meeting lined up with him, and this will be one of the issues which he is going to raise with the foreign minister Muttaqi.
Absolutely. Also, Siddhant, we want to understand the fact that the MEA has put this on record that they had no involvement in this presser. We'd also seen how there were no flags behind Muttaqi that were put out, and that was in fact underlining this aspect that this was not really a diplomatic sort of a presser that was organized by the Ministry of External Affairs. So that is one aspect. No flags. However, they did put an Afghan flag on the table. How does one dissect all of that?
Well, you see, yesterday there was a think tank event, Graham, and this think tank event was organized by VIF in New Delhi. And in fact, at that event, Mr. Tara Katha, who is the former National Security Council Secretariat, former senior fellow, perhaps she met Mr. Amir Khan Muttaqi. In fact, she has also posted this photograph of her with Mr. Muttaqi. And she writes that Mr. Muttaqi has a great sense of humor and probably more relaxed here after Kabul airstrike. But she also did mention that hope they will change its policies on humans soon. And she herself teaches at a girls' school. So you know, wherever there has been an engagement which is planned by the Indian government. Indian government has made sure that there is a participation of women. And that has always been the policy of Indian government, the Ministry of External Affairs and the other, departments in the government. That women journalists are always invited. They are always given preference. And in fact, in this case also, during this visit also, Tara Katha was a part of the event which took place at VIF in New Delhi. But this particular press conference, Greha, was organized by the Afghan embassy. Indian government had no role to play. Indian government did not have any say in this particular press conference. It was happening on the sovereign land of Afghanistan, since the embassy is always considered as the sovereign land of that country. So Indian government has also come up with the clarification. They have no role to play as far as this one press conference is concerned. But yes, other than this, the events which were organized, or perhaps the Indian government was part of those events partially or fully. There, the women dignitaries were invited. In fact, they interacted with Muttaqi. So yes, Indian government did make sure that whichever event is in their control, or they are organizing, or some Indian think tank or group is organizing, it has been, they have taken care of this particular aspect.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. In fact, Siddhant, and we are now getting some breaking news on the broadcast. We are learning that